particularly useful for demonstrating the manifestation of Yahweh in the Old Testament, proving differentiation. So not just Yahweh, but also the angel messenger that he sends, who has the name of Yahweh, as we read in Exodus, the same angel.
Of that, or the Jews or Christians say, like, we don't have any concept of that, then that would be evidence for them to say that, okay, well, this is not adding up, so we don't accept the Torah. Actually preserve text, it can actually preserve teachings and doctrine, whereas Christianity has not been.
Guy Eric Fitz, I take it that you're in support. You think psychedelics lead you to enlightenment?
Yes, of course they do, because not only years later, after converting to Judaism, I actually, if you notice the other hat I'm wearing, you know, I also came out as my true sexuality, gay.
So you're gay and Jewish?
Well, it is all,
yes.
It's all consistent.
That's like, okay.
Yeah, I used to be gay, and then I went to church, and I think church helped me, not drugs.
See, the church turned me gay. It was the opposite.
Yeah, well, nice guy Eric. It feels
synagogue?
a bit like you're trolling, bub. It's hard to take you serious.
I would never do that. It says nice guy in my name.
That's true. It does. That is a factual statement, though it feels more like a troll than a serious engagement with.
So, have you guys ever done acid? Since you guys are talking about psychedelics.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, many times.
Dude, you ever done acid and listened to Alex Jones? That shit's wild.
That is wild. I would say that is a good point.
I have a vast background with the use of psychedelics, and my point is that spiritual advancement is going to be tied to an objective morality and living your life morally, which is not going to be the same thing as the idea of gnosis or a Gnostic framework in which you attain spiritual knowledge, say it through inebriating.
Acid turned me gay. The shrooms were fine. It was the acid.
All right. So yeah!
Quite a few times throughout this debate that Daniel committed multiple fallacies. When those became evident, he then reformulated and refitted the argument to try to throw it upon me to be internally consistent with my presentation. And then he said things like, most Christians don't have your view. No, in fact, most Christians do believe that the Old Testament and the ceremonial approach that we have as Orthodox is consistent, given the fact that the Roman Catholic Church would agree with this as well. So the fact that he said most Christians don't have your view is just patently false. Furthermore, Daniel cited texts like Deuteronomy 18 as if that was about Muhammad, which is laughable because the text actually says, I will raise up somebody from among your brethren. That means a Jew, and Muhammad is not a Jew. So this is creative interpretation that Daniel utilizes. By the way, how does Daniel not know that that text in Deuteronomy 18 isn't corrupted? Unless that text is cited in the Quran, and maybe he thinks it is. But again, we're back at that problem of no epistemic criteria that was consistent. Other than that, the Quran is just simply the correct religion and what's true, and we should accept that. But the question is about how do we know and recognize what the religion of the prophets is? Now, when I gave a list of things like temple, sacrifice, altar, priesthood, icon, et cetera, incense, vestments, and so forth, Daniel said, well, we got a few of those things, and so some of it's kind of similar. So see, no, the argument was all of those things and the meaning of those things. It wasn't just listing similarities. And Daniel's whole argumentation this whole time has been, well, there's some similarities between the Old Testament and Islam, but not any of the multitudes of dozens of passages that I arbitrarily say are corrupted and not true. And by the way, let me pull in unbelieving academic scholars who he knows don't follow the Quran. It is simply not true that unbelieving higher textual critical scholars in some majority consensus affirm the accuracy of the Quran. It's just not true. Now, they might affirm something like it was written by or recorded by a single person. That has nothing to do with whether it's true or not. And by the way, the fact that the Bible is a bunch of different books over time has nothing to do with whether it's true or false either. Daniel's just assuming that it can't be preserved or that it's not preserved providentially by the fact that there's a bunch of authors. But that has nothing to do with whether or not it is or isn't accurate and historical. Furthermore, Daniel argued throughout the presentation that his view was not circular. And I want to stress again that it absolutely was circular, because over and over we had requests. I don't know if I saw my board here to remind you that the requests were specifically about the epistemic principle for how he knows, or how any 7th century Jew or Christian could know, that the teaching of the Quran is correct prophecy. Prior revelation in Deuteronomy 13 and 18, as we saw, specified that it would be consistent with prior revelation. But Daniel's now saying that, no, there is no consistent prior revelation. So the very thing that he said that Christians and Jews could appeal to, Mosaic, Torah, prophets, Injil, he says, only if it's consistent with the similarities to the Quranic presentation. In other words, the epistemic principle is the Quran, by which we know that the Quran is the true revelation of the prophets, but it's not. And when Daniel's pressed on the issue, he just restates things like, well, you just go look with your eyes. This is completely naive when it comes to epistemology. I could just say the same thing. Well, I just go look with my eyes that it's not. You see how this doesn't resolve anything, and it's not an answer to the epistemic question. It's just restating the position over and over and over. And then when he says it's not a circle, ironically, he just rephrases what it means to go look with your eyes and to see. So we never got an answer to that. We never got a presentation about the actual meaning of the consistency of those texts. And when he asked me, how is your view consistent with the Old Testament? I start to give answers of consistency. And he says, well, most Christians don't believe that. No, actually, most Christians do believe that. Protestants are in the minority. Orthodox and Roman Catholics do constitute the majority and do agree with the transmission of these principles of, let's go back to it, temple, sacrifice, altar, priesthood, icon, incense, vestments. We can include them as a package deal. Now, Daniel says, but you don't have a consistent way to present how you follow and don't follow the Old Testament. I gave a consistent presentation. I said, well, first of all, in the Jewish theology itself, not all of those things are for the Gentiles. So that's not me saying that it's true because Jews said it. I'm just saying that that's one argument from older theology. The question then about the New Testament is who's in continuity with that? And that continuity, what?
About 20 seconds.
Okay, that continuity is proven by the meaning being consistent over time of temple, sacrifice, altar, priesthood, icon, liturgy, incense, etc. And Daniel does not have those things, and he knows that. And so he's citing loose similarities to prove continuity when, as we saw, it's not, it's all arbitrary, and he rejects giant portions of the Old Testament.